hit big. He said,
Oh, look, we live. We got it now.
oh,
Ah,
You got it?
well.
Hello, hello, hello. I'm Erica Lynn, better known as Erica Lynn Speaks.
If I can think about it for a second, learn to live life for the better. I had hard times, got a life coach for depression, got a life coach for depression. Now it's all mine, living days full of hard times. Erica Lynn, work on your mind, let's get on your grind. Working on the feelings inside, Erica Lynn got me on the rise.
Erica Lynn speaks, to the Erica Lynn speaks, to the Erica Lynn speaks, yeah, yeah. Erica Lynn speaks, to the Erica Lynn speaks, to the Erica Lynn speaks, yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, alright. Looking up when I fell on hard times. Hard times, they changed my mind. Got my head up, looking to the sky. Miss Lynn, she changed my life. Looking up when I fell on hard times. With her unique design. Got my head up, looking to the sky.
Erica Lynn speaks, to the Erica Lynn speaks, to the Erica Lynn speaks, yeah, yeah. Erica Lynn speaks, to the Erica.
Hello, hello, hello. This is your girl, Erica Lynn, and welcome back to another wonderful episode of Erica Lynn Speaks podcast. Y'all know I like to play big or go home. Who are we playing big for? We are playing big for you. Oh my God. I mean, this has been an awesome month. All month, we have been talking about purpose. We have been talking about elevating into your purpose, moving in your purpose, discovering your purpose. Oh man, and the doors have been opening the more I talk about purpose. But before we get started, I want you to make sure that you share this podcast with everybody in your timeline. If you are not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so now. And if you need to follow me on Erica Lynn Speaks on Facebook, do that now. Just give us a thumbs up, join us, subscribe, follow, whatever the button says. I don't know, but I want to see you there, right? I'm so excited because, every week I come with something different that ultimately my goal, my purpose is to be a blessing to help all of those who are affected and able to listen to the podcast, because I want you to walk away from each podcast saying that you obtained some information. It helped you grow to your next level. Like the things that you were able to receive in allows your output into the world greater than what it was before you watched this podcast. You guys know that I always talk about healing and growing and growth, but how can I talk about those things without showing you those experiences that you have in life, how they elevate you and allow you to walk and discover your purpose. So with that being said, I want you guys to join me with welcoming tonight's guest. Now, tonight's guest is such an awesome, phenomenal woman. Like, she just blew my mind just having a conversation with her, because I got to hear the stories that changed my life in just such a short time of us having a conversation. And you guys always hear me say, have a conversation with your children, have a conversation with your family and your friends, because they don't know your experiences. And the only way that they can know is if you share them, because they could be going through something too. And they like, how do I handle this? Like, what do I do? I don't know. Like, I meet a lot of women that say, my parents weren't around. My mother wasn't there to teach me. My father wasn't there. Well, it is our God-given right as individuals who have gone through experiences to share our experiences with others that come behind us. That helps soften the blow, right? And shorten the learning curve that they're going to have while they go through their journey. So my next guest is a motivational speaker, a transformation coach, and an author. Leonia Lloyd is a public speaker and an author whose career as a judge, a lawyer, and teacher has spanned decades serving citizens of Detroit. Having sat on the 36th District Court for more than 20 years, Judge Lloyd has lived a life with many stories to tell, which are captured in her new memoir, Your Honor, A Journey Through the Grief and Restorative Justice. Her award-winning justice programs for drug and prostitution offenders have been featured on the National Geographic Channel, A&E Network, and in the Detroit Free Press. She is a product of Detroit Public Schools from Wayne State University. Detroit Public Schools, and received her bachelor's and Juris Doctorate degree from Wayne State University. That was a tongue-tied moment. Before becoming a judge, she was a partner in the law firm Lloyd & Lloyd, which she served with her late twin sister, Leona. They were featured in Ebony, Jet, and People magazine, along with Detroit Free Press as the Detroit News. Both she and her sister will go on to be elected to serve on the 36th District Court and be the country's first twin judges to sit on the same district court bench at the same time. They were affectionately dubbed Twins for Justice. So I want you guys to put your hands together and join me in welcoming Judge Leonia Lloyd to the platform. Hello, Judge Lloyd. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm good. You know, this is a wonderful opportunity for you to be on this podcast, because just the short time that I've had talking with you, the stories that you shared with me have totally blessed me. So I know that they're going to be game changers for our audience tonight.
Okay. All righty. I'm happy being here, and it's my pleasure to be here. It's an honor for me. Thank you.
You're welcome. And in reading your story, I've just found some wonderful, fascinating things out about you. But can you just share with us a little bit about your background and stories of what even led you in the direction to becoming a judge?
Okay. Well, like you said, I wore several hats, and then I would pivot. But each hat that I wore was a goal that I was seeking, and that goal fit underneath my purpose. Okay. And my purpose was to help other people discover the greatness they had within them, to do whatever was deep in their heart that they could do. Because along these paths, I saw so many people think they couldn't do something. They couldn't do this, or they couldn't do that. And they had excuses. That I'm not smart enough. I don't have the experience to do it. So they talked themselves right out of even trying. And so my job, I felt, was I can tell them, yes, you can. Yes, you can. And I did that, but with every goal I set. And the first was a teacher, to motivate young people who were there to understand that they had greatness in them. If they can understand this at an early age and believe it, I felt, yes, I can teach them how to do debate. Yes, I can teach them English. Yes, I can teach them speech. I can put them in my musicals, but I've got to give them something that is going to be with them no matter what they pick to do. And when I hear back from them on Facebook, and they haven't seen me for years, except when I retired, and when from the bench, 2 tables full of Cass Tech graduates found out, and they were there cheering for me. And I was like, how did they know? Because I wasn't on Facebook then. Yeah. But it was what I gave them, they said, that put them out ahead of everyone else when they went to college. Okay. And I did not know they felt that way. I wanted to make sure they were ready. I wanted to make sure that things that happened to me when I was a student, and that tore my heart apart because I had never been discriminated against. Okay. And to have a teacher do that to me, I was in an honors geometry class, and when I first walked in.
No, you were in high school when you experienced your first form of discrimination. Okay.
Exactly. Even though I watched it on TV with my parents, I remember I was a little girl. Martin Luther King was coming. My father wanted us to experience this. My mother said, no, my babies can't go. Okay, so Leona and I was an activity. We wanted to go, but she wouldn't let him take us. But I remembered the big powwow they had about that. So it's not that I didn't know. I did. And I even taught that when I taught school. I taught about discrimination in my English classes to make them write me an essay on what does discrimination mean to you. And
now, what grade did you teach?
That was 9th, 10th, and I taught all of them. 12th
all
grade.
Of them, okay.
I taught all of them. But these were some 9th and 10th graders. And I said, and they wrote it so fast. They were in Cass Tech. They wrote it so fast. And I said, you finished? I passed pictures around of the civil rights movement, et cetera. They saw the dogs and the water hoses on the folks, and they were grunting and groaning. But yet and still, you didn't give me but 3 sentences. 3 sentences on what discrimination meant to you. And I had seen something on 60 Minutes where they used blue-eyed children and brown-eyed children.
Yes.
Yeah, that was years ago. And I remembered it, though. I remembered that. And I said, I've got to reach them because they can't have happened to them what happened to me. And I was sitting there, and this lady, to make a long story short, when she told me when I first came to hand her my card to join the class, she said, are you in the right place? I said, yes, it says room 212. She said, this is honors geometry. I said, yeah, it is. And so she said, well, are you sure that I said, do you want to see the card? No. Go sit in the back.
Oh.
So I went at the longest walk I ever had in my life. And the only people back there were 3 more Black people in the class, and they were all back in the back. And I was to join them.
Okay.
Every time I raised my hand to ask a question, because I wanted to catch up with them, they had been going for 3 or 4 days before I got there. She would look right at me and say, since there's no questions, we'll move right along. And I said, I'm the only one with my hand up. And I did this day after day. After a week of that, I said, Mama, the lady doesn't call on me. I got questions, but we keep moving and keep moving. I said, I gotta unravel one problem before I can go on to another. And my mother said, well, baby, I don't know geometry, so I can't help you. And she said, just keep reading your books. And so I did, but it kept on going.
Yeah.
And I said, Mama, I'm going to flunk that test. I know I'm going to flunk that test. And test came. All the Black students flunked. And I said, but I had never gotten an E or a D in my life. Okay. So I'm in shock. And my mother used to have a saying. She said, if you get a C on your report card, you got to come home and explain. Now, a D, don't come home. I said, I got an E. What do I do? My sister felt so sorry for me. She wasn't in my class. And I got home, but this was leading to this. And I cried and I cried and I cried. And my mother said, baby, you're going to have to teach yourself. I said, what do you mean by that? And she said, you're going to have to pick up the book and read it page by page. You're going to have to work every problem out. You're going to have to check it and see if it's right. When you get up to where you had a test, and she said, take that test again, and then see what answers you get. She said, page by page. And my face was swollen. I was crying. And I said, she won't call on me in class. So I said, Mother said, teach yourself. And at first I thought, this is crazy. How can I teach? The teacher's supposed to teach. And then I said, okay, that's my mother. She told me to do this. So I got to do as my mother tells me to do. Yeah. And I did. Every day I came in and just like clockwork, the commitment that I made, which is what you got to do when you want to establish your purpose. Okay, right. Just thought I'd throw that in there. Ooh. The commitment that you got to make, the time that you got to block out, the plan that you take. I was doing it as a little girl. I was 15 years old. And I said, I would do the things, and I would go chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. All of a sudden, I was understanding geometry. Okay. I said, Mama, I'm understanding geometry. She said, baby, you smart. You smart. She said, you're supposed to understand. And so my parents, when we got straight A's, they would my father look at the card and say, what do you want me to say? Your mama's smart, so you're supposed to be smart. Bottom line, I had been raised to believe I was a smart kid.
Okay.
This lady was trying to tell me I was stupid.
Yeah.
Okay, I was dumb. I didn't belong there. Okay, and so when I went ahead and I said I caught up to the class, and I told my girlfriend, I said, I know geometry. I'm ready for the test. We have it in 2 days. I can't wait.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I took the test. The next day she passes it out. It's a big B on the test. And I couldn't cheer, but I was cheering silently. And she looked at me. She said, relatively easy exam. And I said, well, the guy in front of me still got the same D minus that he'd been getting. Okay. She would always cut it off. Whatever I had, he had, it'd be a point difference. He get a D minus, I get an E. Now I'm B's. Then I got B pluses. Everything at that point was that way.
Yeah.
I knew geometry. And even though my average was high, she failed me. And one boy said, he said, well, it's one thing is that he said is that I'm so sorry. I thought I had cut this thing off.
That's all right.
One thing is that he said, well, one of us have passed. That's one thing. But when he saw what she did, and she took her dark ink pen and she changed the H to an R for regular.
Oh.
Regular. You are regular, little girl. You not no honor, nothing. You shouldn't have been in here.
Oh.
And when she was supposed to meet with my mother, she called up and said, I'm out of town and I won't be back until school starts. And the counselor said, well, you have two choices. She's not coming back. She's the only one who can change the grade. She said, if you take it over again and we combine the two grades, since you say you know geometry, you should get an A. She was being facetious. I understood that. But she said, and then the E will be off and the two grades will combine and it'll be a C. Or you can do algebra, but the E remains. I said, no, the E is not going to remain. I know geometry. I'm crying and crying. And from that day forward, I always spoke up. If a teacher was doing something wrong, I always spoke up in college, in law school. I didn't stop. I didn't stop. And you recognize it and you go and you say, hey, this is not right. I know who I am. And that's how you do your purpose. You know who you are. You know what your beliefs are. Listen to what the voice says inside of you. It's going to tell you what that purpose is. And if you don't understand, then have a talk with God, because he's going to help give you and send you the message you need to see what your purpose is. But that was for me. And I wanted those kids to understand. And I talk all about that in the book, about how we went to music hall, how they wanted to do the musical I had just directed. And I said, I think you're good enough. Why not? And I did something totally unconventional. I had a girl talk to DeChera, who was over it. He met with us. My kids performed 3 numbers. He said, this is going to be great. I'm going to put these people. I got big names, and then I'm going to blend with your kids. We've never done this before. And then I had to bust the bubble of the boys and girls the next day. I told them, they were cheering. They were like, we're going to be in the music hall. We're going to be in the, and I said, but I'm going to law school in 3 weeks. Oh. And I will be gone. And I can't do it as much as I want to. And one little boy looked at me. He said, that's okay, Miss Lloyd. He said, but you showed us we were good enough.
Yes. Yes. So, now that's powerful, because listening to you tell your stories and your experiences that you went through, on so many occasions, you could have been like, I quit, or because the teacher was being racist, you could have just been like, I'm never going back. I'm not going back. I give up. I quit. But your parents were the starting factor of teaching you to never give up, right? To keep moving forward. And you adapted that into your own stance. It became part of your regular personality. And that's something so powerful to share with not just the young people, but to share with adults as well, because so many things in life come at us and we just be like, forget it. I don't want to, it's too hard. I don't want to keep trying. I don't want to keep doing it. Like, it's just easier for me to go to sleep. It's easier for me to do drugs and not think about it, right? It's easier for me to be an alcoholic and just not focus on life. But the reality of it is, when you sober up, when your high goes away, when you wake up the next day, that problem still exists. And
Exactly.
then you find yourself kicking yourself in the butt. If I just had addressed it at the time, then I'll
Right.
be a lot further than I am today. So
You're
thank you for
absolutely right.
sharing that story with us. You know, like it, you got me fired up over here, Judge.
I'm telling you, Erica, it's when I was in law school, that was our first year. My sister and I, we were in a summer program, and we would study to about 2:30 in the morning every night. Every night, the man next door, I didn't know him, but he would be up. His light never went off, and I found out later on when we met him, he was in med school, so he didn't go to sleep. But with us, you know, we were doing this and doing this, and so one day, I think it had been maybe 3 weeks in, something like that. We had done a leave of absence, so we could have came back, right? And I told my sister, I said, you know, we don't have to go through all this. We could just say, hey, let's just stop, and you know, we could rescind our little thing, and we'll be back there in September. We can enjoy the rest of the summer. My sister looked at me, and she said, "You finished? You finished venting?" She said, "Cause I ain't quitting nothing." She said, "I left that school with the intent of doing this, and this is what we're gonna do. Now we got 4 more cases to read, and it is already 1:30 in the morning. Now, if you finish venting, put your nose back in that book and read." My sister was like, we ain't never quit. And we ain't about to do that now. We made a monumental decision to do this. And our girlfriend said, and you're going to be poor all over again because you're going to be a poverty-struck student. I said, oh, I don't care. It's only for 3 years, so what? I said, I can live through it. You know, I wasn't so bent up on material things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when my sister said that, it like shook me up.
Yeah.
I went back to reading. You're right. It's easier to walk away. It's easier. If you're on drugs make you happy. You don't worry about nothing. You know, you're sitting there inebriated. You don't worry about nothing. Everything happy, till you finally have that high wear off.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a drug court judge, so I know.
Yeah.
And that high wears off. Guess what? Your problems are worse than they were before you got high.
Yeah.
And whatever bills you owe, now it's compounded. And now
Yes.
y'all got to move. And now
Yeah.
you're going to get high again tonight. And the next thing will be in the street. Because there ain't going to be nowhere for you to sleep.
Yeah.
You have to confront your problems. And you can't run. You can't run.
No matter how, listen, and I say this in my speeches and my talks all the time. And it's funny because it's not funny when you got to experience it yourself. If you don't learn that lesson the first time, God is going to keep repeating the same, maybe a different experience, but the same lesson over and over again until you get it. And for you to say, I don't understand or I don't get it is not an excuse, because that means that you have to, as you said, sit down, buckle down and learn it and focus. And
Right.
you're blessed if you have somebody that come into your life and like holds you accountable and helps you focus and help you get it, because everybody is not blessed with that. So just
Right.
like you said, you didn't have anybody to help you to learn geometry, but you had to focus and you had to study and you had to get it right. And it's not a funny thing, but you know, that's like a figure of speech. I always say like, oh, it's funny, but it's not funny. It's like you really do have to sit there and focus, because life is not going to stop for you. Life is going to keep passing you by. It's up to you if you want to do what you need to do to walk through your life to make the best out of life for yourself. And as I was reading, you know, your bio and the information, like you and your sister have really took life, I don't want to say by the balls, but really took life, you know, life into your own hand and made it to what you made it out of what you want. And I was noticing, because we all love the Detroit Auto Show, right? And I'll be in main one in there posing in the cars. How is it that you guys went from being a teacher to being a model at the auto show to becoming a judge?
Right. Well, when we, while we were trying to finish high school, and we had one teacher, and sometimes it only takes one person to tell you. And I knew this as a judge because I knew it from high school. While I had one teacher basically kind of acting like I was stupid and dumb just because I was a little black girl, I had one white teacher that looked at me and Leona and said, "You're the best speakers in the class." That's who picked us to speak. She said, "Your mother needs to, I'm gonna write this down. Your mother needs to put you in this John Powers modeling school." And I said, "Huh?" Now we were skinny little girls too. Okay. So we got teased for being too skinny. So I said, "Modeling school?" And she said, "Yes, I think it would be perfect for you." So we came back and we told our mother. My mother said, "What did you say?" And my mother said, "How much does this cost?" I said, she wrote it all down. My mother said, she started choking. She's like, I think back then it was like $1,000 for each one of us, right? Mm-hmm. And she said, "Your Sweet 16 party's coming up and you can't have both." I said, "Well, Sweet 16 party ain't but for a day. This is going to help us for the rest of our life. I want to go there." And my mother said, "Well, she said, there's a payment plan for you." And so my mother said, "I talked to your father." My father said, "It's up to you." She went, she met with the people, she signed the papers, and voila. After we finished, we graduating from high school, we graduating from this finishing modeling school, and we now have our little graduation pictures, and we decided we're going to go. They gave us the name of an agency. Let's go. So we go in there, and then we're sitting there with these pictures all over the wall of all of these glamorous people, and we're looking, and we don't even have any pictures. We got little high school pictures. So we're looking, and I said, "Oh," and we could hear her talking to a guy, and she said, "I got all your pictures. I got everything. You have a job?" "Yes, I work at wherever he worked at." She said, "Keep your day job, okay? Keep your day job." I had never heard that expression before. And so she said, I'll contact you if I have something up. So he walks out. He looks like Brad Pitt. He's a young Brad Pitt walking out. I looked at Leona. Leona looked at me. I said, "She just kicked him out. Let's go." And Leona said, "Yeah, we come back when we get our portfolio together." And then as we stood up, the lady came out. She said, "Who are you?" So she had these little glasses on her eyes. And we said, "Leona and Leonia." And still they didn't know who we was. And so we were panicked. We were like panicked, right? And she says, come in. "You're twins?" We said, "Yes." She said, "Where were you when I needed you?" "I don't know what you're talking about." "What you mean where you need?" And she said, "I needed you last week." Oh. And she says, "Oh, I got to get information. You got pictures?" I said, "Only a high school picture." "Give me that." I open up my wallet and give her that. Opportunity comes when you don't expect it, right? And sometimes when you're not ready for it, right? But if you're in your purpose, and that particular time we wanted to become models, to do things to show other girls they could do this. And so we handed it to her, and she said, "I'm going to get you some other things. The auto show is coming up. You missed being able to interview for the executive show, but you'll be able to interview later on." So we said, "Oh, okay." She said, "And that's going to be in a few months. But until then, I'll call you. Get the pictures, girls. Get the pictures." I said, "Okay." And we say bye, and we're all on cloud 9 because we never worked before. So this is going to be our first job, whatever it's going to be, right? And then the lady called us the next day. She said, "Girls, you have an interview. You got an interview at 2:00 today at Ford Motor Company." We said, "What? What are you talking about?" "You said it's not going to be until September to do that." She said, "They want you. They want to interview you for both shows, the executive show and the regular show." She said, "Yes. Can you be there today?" We said, "Yes." "Wear that cute little outfit you wore down here. One with the little tam you had on your head. Wear that." So we walking through Ford Motor Company. It's a business thing. We got on little mini skirts and stuff. We're walking through. Remember now, we just graduated high school. And then we get in there. They're all white girls. They're all tall. Leona and I are only 5'7". So, we look short compared to them. Big portfolios, huge things that you got to carry. We got little high school picture. And the lady called us in there. She asked us a bunch of questions, told us turn around. And she didn't even look up from her reading glasses. And she said, "And what are you doing now?" because we're going to have the auto show is going to be further out into November. And so what is your regular job? We said, we don't have a job. We just graduated from high school, but we got accepted at Wayne State University, and that's where we'll be going in the fall. That lady took off her glasses and looked at us first time. Why? Because what we symbolized was something other than being meat on a rack.
Yes.
We had a brain. Oh,
Yes.
she looked at us. She said, my son goes there. It's a good school. I said, yes, that's why we're going. And she said, it was very nice meeting you. Now, my sister and I talked about this all the way back. We said she didn't look up until she knew we were more than a piece of meat.
Yes.
And the owner said, yeah, I noticed that. And we got back. The next day, the little lady, the eccentric lady, calls us again, and she says, girls, you got both shows.
Oh, wow.
I said, no. Remember, you said it's going to be in September. No, you don't understand. You got both shows. Take this down. You got to go for a fitting today.
Oh, wow.
We got both shows. And back then, to make $600 for a week of just standing by a car,
Yeah.
that was big money.
That was big money.
I bought my mother a fur coat and some other little stuff she wanted. Leona treated her too. She said, this is the biggest show that goes on in Detroit for modeling, the biggest one. Everything else is small. And she said, and so we started out with that. But what we learned from that show is when a lady said, she said, you girls look new, are you? And we said, yes. And so she said, again, know your purpose, know your purpose. And so she said, I want to show you after work. I got something to show you if you want to see some pictures of me. So we said, yeah, we want to see them because we knew she was a seasoned model. Very pretty lady, right? So we she had a trailer. Oh, she been with the auto show for 20 years. Oh, she's an MC and a model. Oh, you get paid way more money than us. And we're going through her pictures, and I said, oh, look, she was really dazzling back then. And we're going through, and then we get to the end. I'm ready for the next book. She said, that's my whole life. Don't let it be yours.
Oh.
She said, stay in school. Yeah. Her comment shook us up. My aunt, who came from Chicago to see us in this auto show, I said, it's going to Chicago next, and they're talking about us going over there. And then when we go over there, you can see, she said, I won't go out the door in Chicago to see you, but I'll come here. She said, because that will take you away from school, and that will you won't go back. Yeah. She said she knew that the glitter of bright lights would take us away. And she said, that I will not support. Yes. Now, between the two of them, as we drove back that night, Leona said, I don't think I want to do the Chicago show. I said, me either. I said, no, because we got to focus on school. Yeah. Again, sometimes life throws things at you. Yes. Throws things at you. What is your purpose? My purpose was, number one, helping people discover the greatness within them. Well, you got some steps. First step was being a teacher, teaching the young people, teaching them to be great. But you can't do that if you go following a star that may lead you nowhere. Yes. A lot of pretty girls out there, way prettier than me and Leon. Okay. So you can't go by that. We never even looked at stuff like that. That's why when the lady wanted us modeling school, we said us. We didn't look at us as cute.
Yeah. And, that's amazing though, because at such a young age, you and your sister knew what you guys wanted to do. Like you had a vision as to where you wanted your future to go, and you didn't let nothing or no one stop you. You didn't let the naysayers stop you. You didn't let the glitz and the glamour stop you. I mean, you guys just kept moving forward, and that is so amazing. Like I can just say that one word throughout this entire podcast, because many of us think it, or we might know a story that was in a book, but to personally meet someone who actually rose above all of the challenges is simply breathtaking. Because now, like your stories, I can say to my grandchildren when I get some, listen, I want you guys to know, I can tell you a story about a judge I know and her sister. And then it could be a truthful story. It's not something that I read in my history books. Like you personally went through things that we're going to have to teach our grandchildren that come up, because racism still exists. It may not exist on that level, but it still exists. And then you now with this new generation, everybody want to be artists. They want to be performers. They want to travel around the world and make all the big money and the big glitz and glamour. But the one key part that they're missing is that you got to work so hard sometimes that you have to be willing to sacrifice everything to get to where you want. That means that if you got to work a day job and a night job and a side hustle and still walk in your purpose, then that's what you have to do. If you have to stay up all night and study, like even with speakers, people think that we just get on stage and we speak. We have to rehearse.
Correct.
Because I know I speak broken English sometimes and I might get a little comfortable. I actually have to rehearse. There's times I did a speech, and what I learned is as long as you got the beginning and you got the middle and the ending down packed, you kind of work your way through the middle, right? And so I rehearsed that beginning, I rehearsed that ending, and I practiced the middle, but then I got on stage and my brain wouldn't sit down. But the thing that what I learned was that people don't know what you're going to say anyway. So if you pretty much got the gist of the story, you can like keep going through, and then your brain, it comes back and go, oh yeah, this is where I was at. Right. So these are things that they teach you as a speaker, but that goes to say with anything in life. Now you guys, and we talk about you guys because your sister is no longer here.
Right.
But it sounds like she was a great influence in your life, right? She was like your left brain, and you were like the right brain, you know, and that's a good thing. But then after you guys did the auto show, you got to tell me, how did you end up negotiating $1 million contracts for R&B artists ready for the world and working with David Ruffin? Like, you got to tell me this story.
You know, it's funny. When we were in high school, and we used to go to the Motown reviews, right, with all the other kids, and didn't miss them. My mother would drop us off. We shiver in the cold and all that, you know. We got to go. We go in the front row of the Motown review. Yeah, there was Smokey Robinson. Oh, you know. So we had to be part of all that. We front and center, we there. And then when we got to high school, we saw David Ruffin getting on a motorcycle. And he was right outside the car we were driving. And the owner said, that's David Ruffin. Let's go get an autograph. And so we run up there, me, her, and our girlfriend. And he looks, he's dressed all in leather. We're starstruck. We don't know what to say. Say, can we have an autograph? Leona's the only one who gets one. He writes, may you one day be my girl. Ah! And when I got ready to stick a piece of paper, he said, I got to go. And he was gone, right? So fast forward. Now we're looking at probably 15 years later. We go to college, law school, teach. All of that has happened. And now we're lawyers and we're doing entertainment law. And a guy who we grew up with as kids, we were kids together. He is working in a managerial position with David and Eddie because they've left the Temptations and they have a contract. And the guy who, Tommy Mottola, who was had Hall & Oates at the time. And he was getting ready to be made vice president at CBS. We heard, you know, we had our connections, okay? But before he leaves, any contracts his production company is signing is going right over there to CBS, okay? So they come in with a contract that they're handed by Hall & Oates because that's their manager, and they give them this contract because they really want to help David and Eddie, right? And David and Eddie handed to the Bruce, our friend, and he brings them in with the kind. Now, when they came in, everybody on our floor in the Renaissance Center was just, the women were just dumbfounded. They just, oh God, they looking at David. He's suave. He's still suave. He walks in, you know, and then here comes Eddie, and we're talking to him now. Bruce told us, he said they ain't used to women being lawyers. Okay, we and Leona were cutting edge going in. Okay, dealing with vice presidents at record companies. They weren't used to dealing with women. They were used to dealing with men. The only women they dealt with were the ones giving them their coffee. That's it. But with us, one vice president flew in here, the one who signed Michael Jackson, the one who signed Luther Vandross. He flew in here. He said, I got to meet them. He said, I gotta see. They got to act out of nowhere. Brought it in. It's number one on the chart. It's got like 3 hits up there at the same time. Who are they? So he flies in and meets us. And as we're talking, we want to promote another girl that we got. Okay. We were constantly doing stuff like that. Did anybody teach us how to do that? No. We read every book we get our hand on. We flew out to seminars. We said we got to do what's necessary. They don't teach this in Detroit. They don't have anything like that. We're going out to Florida. We're going to get, and when one of the trips we took out to Florida, that's when they were calling us to negotiate the contract for Ready for the World. We're talking to the man who wrote the book, masterpiece on the music business. He called us the Legal Beagles from Detroit. We're the only lawyers sitting there and the only Black people sitting in that class. And we told him, we said, we're working on a group called Ready for the World. I want you to remember that. I want you to remember that name. I said, because it's going to be big. Now, I thought back several years later, and I said, Leona, how many times has this man heard this? He lives in California. Everybody thinks their group is going to be big. And here me and you come, but we're saying with dedication and heart, because that's what we believe.
Right.
He said the next year he had part 2. Me and Leona flew out there again. We negotiated the contract. And even at lunchtime, we said they want to give us 2 singles, and with the option to do the albums. And he said, great, you got 2 bites of the apple. If the first single don't work, they got to do another single, but they can skip right to the album if the first one is a hit. He said, go for it, girls. And then we get back on the phone. Okay. We didn't have cell phones. We go to the room, we put the call, and then we come back down for the class. We are negotiating a contract right there with the highest level guy who wrote the masterpiece book on how to negotiate in the recording business. I wanted to know what the main standards were. Leona wanted to know. We were operating on LA and Florida and New York time kind of space, okay? And when we left there, we had done a deal. That like, for example, they said, we want to give them $5,000 that they can spend in addition to this multi-million-dollar contract we negotiated. Right? And we said, no, I think something like probably 175,000 because it's 5. I said 5, 6 of them. I said 6, and they got to split that money up. That'll hold you for a little while. He said, I don't know if we can do that. Now, it's an unknown group. It's an unknown group. They have their guidelines as to what they normally spend. And they came back and they said, you have it. I said, we told them, they said, what? We're going to get what? Oh, and they bugged us to death. But until the check came in. But the bottom line is that we did what was necessary. Now, didn't teach that here. We had to go somewhere else to find that knowledge. Once we decided, after we did Mojo's contract, and when we did that contract, that was the first contract we'd ever negotiated. We boned up on what we should do, but we put clauses in there that aren't in clauses typically. Okay. We wanted him, if once you leave there, we don't want you not to be able to get on the air within 50,000, whatever they call that, airwave things. And I said, no, we're not doing that. I said, because then you got to be way away. You got to be almost out of Michigan. You can't even be around. Don't nobody know who you are. So all we had was a 30-day thing, 30 days. After that, he can go where he wants, you know. And if he died before the end of the contract, you got to pay his estate. What? And the lady said, I said, oh, we were supposed to sign a contract that day. Leona and I got real good at negotiating. We taught our client how to be the good guy.
Okay.
We the bad people.
Okay.
Asking for stuff. We said, there's just one other thing. And the man who owned the station said, what now? What now? I feel like being raked over and over again. What now? We said, he has to have an office. And it has to be of these specifications. If you look in the contract, there's an addendum there to the contract, and it has the specifications with what he needs in the studio, the equipment he needs, along with, it was the largest screen color TV out at that time, right? We wanted all that for his office. And so the lady who was, she was the manager of the station, she says, this meeting is over. He said, sit down, call the building management, get the office. Bottom line, okay, you're coming up against Lloyd and Lloyd.
Yes.
Okay, we were not to be messed with.
Yes.
And we learned that, but we learned how to be tough through the racism in law school, starting with not being treated fairly in high school, but I had a good balance with a teacher that was very sweet and pushed us and made us confident within ourselves. Okay, she made us confident. So she canceled her out. And when I was married, I was going to get I had graduated law school, and I went where he was going to school, and I said, well, I can sign up for the master's class because there ain't nothing for me to do, but it's a combined JD degree, Juris Doctorate degree. I already got the Juris Doctorate. I just got to take the little master's part. They said, you've done so many, we're going to knock these off. You'll be able to finish this master's in less than a year.
Wow.
I said, see, when God put a plan there for you, Dad, when he put the plan there for you. And I said, okay. I went to the first class. The first class, he said, I have a lawyer in here and I have one that just finished law school. Those two will judge the rest of you. Meaning we got an automatic A. We got an automatic A. Okay. Yeah. That's that one class. Now let me go to the next one. I go to the next class, and he says, one student said, well, you got to teach us such. He said, hold it. I'm not teaching you anything. You're going to teach yourselves. I'm here if you have questions. And about 10 kids dropped out of class when they said they have to teach themselves. I said, oh, I know how to do that.
That's what you learned back in high school in that geometry class. See, that's amazing how when you, and even with your story, but if other people look back in their stories from what happened to them or experiences that they had earlier on in life, they will see that they had that experience already.
Right.
And how you dealt with that experience, how you overcame that experience, it prepared you for that same experience, but just on a different level later on in life. And you was ready for it because you did what your mama said. Listen, you don't have an option to quit. You can't give up. You got to keep moving forward. And it's amazing, like I said, that you had Lloyd and Lloyd, y'all working together, and that you guys were two Black African-American women in an industry that was not tapped by African-Americans and women at that. Exactly. And so that's amazing. Like, this is such an inspirational story. Oh my God. Like, if you guys have just now tuned in to the podcast, first of all, when it's over, you got to go back and watch the beginning of the podcast so that you can hear the stories that Judge Lloyd has shared with you all, because listening to her life story and her memoirs and her experiences of her and her sister is phenomenal. And so now you done made an impact into the music industry.
Right.
Now you said you ready. That's not enough for you. You want more, right? You want more. Like that was not enough. You didn't just settle for that. You said, okay, let's take it a step further. And then you and your sister decided to go after the next level. So tell us, what was the next level?
Okay. You're absolutely correct, Erica. You're absolutely correct. When you go to enough Hollywood parties and you're doing all this because your artist is out there. This is another group that we had out there. And I traveled Europe with them, okay, at the expense of Arista Records. Okay. So, I mean, I Glitter World, I've seen it. Okay. We were at Clive Davis's private party in Beverly Hills. And I told the group was Kiara, and I said, oh, there's so-and-so. You want to go take a picture with Luther Vandross? I said, because you really like him. They said, Luther Vandross. Oh, no, Leon, you going to go up there and ask him? I said, sure. Leon, you just walk up to anybody. I said, he put his pants on just like you, one leg at a time. I said, come on, follow me. I'll go up there. And they knew I was going to do it. I've done it with everybody. I did it with Vanessa Williams. Remember, she came off being Miss America. Then she had a big album. And I said, come on, we're taking pictures with Vanessa Williams. Bottom line, I had no fear of going up to anybody. Okay. And so I said, they're number one on the charts. I said, they're with Arista Records. He said, I loved your performance up there. And I said, can they take a picture with you, Mr. Vandross? And he said, sure. I said, okay. I said, I'm going to get a couple of these, okay? And I told him, I said, one day you'll be able to show your kids. Now they got kids. They have that framed. I said, I told you, one day you're going to thank me for this. And the thing is that bouncing around and doing all of that was fine. But I wanted to affect the people because we had half of our practice was with just regular everyday folks, not people on the red carpet, not people, we were at the Essence Magazine's thing and all of that. It ain't none of that. I'm in here fighting for this woman to get her money from, her husband, because I'm representing her for her divorce, or I'm representing these kids in juvenile. So I had a balance. I had a balance of the real world, and then there's the other world. Okay. And I said, but and I went in front of so many judges that I didn't like the way they treated lawyers, particularly Black lawyers and female lawyers. And one lady came up to me and she said, everything you wanted for your client is what my lawyer asked for me. She was a Black lady and she had a white lawyer. She said, he gave you a rough time. He said, I watched you. You fought for everything you got for that lady. And she said, we came right behind you. And she said, and I had the paperwork ready. I wanted it signed because I didn't want judge change his mind. And so my client would be upset. They ain't going to have no upset client. So she went up there and it was done in 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. She said, my attorney asked for the same thing you did because my husband didn't come either. She said, and he just said, okay to everything. But to you, he fought you tooth and nail. She said, and I have to admire you. She said, you held your ground. I said, that's what I'm supposed to do. Mm-hmm. I said, I'm supposed to fight for what's right. That came back from high school days. Remember that. And that came back from being in college, fighting for somebody else's rights. And now I'm fighting for my client's rights. Now, but I might fly out by that Friday to an event in California, but I got both going on. But I want to help more people. And I can do that if I'm sitting behind the bench treating people like they're supposed to be treated and treating them respectfully. And it's not the good boy club. Okay. It ain't going to be that in here. All right. So when I won, I went up against 10 incumbents. Everybody said, you're crazy. People can't win against one. How you going to win against 10? I said, because I believe I can. Yeah. This is when your belief in yourself comes in. Yeah. Okay. I believe I can. And if I lose, I just run again. Yeah. But I believe I can. I went, the district, they endorsed me, but I remember the lady telling me, and my friend brought me in because he was high up in the district. He said, I'll get you the endorsements. I said, oh, I didn't plan on any endorsements. I'm going to promote myself like I promoted the artists. I'm going to have billboards. He said, he laughed at me. He said, I understand, Leonia, but this is politics. I said, well, you go ahead and you get me whatever. And so I went to meet some of these people he wanted me to meet. And the lady said, well, you might not win the first time, but it's good advertisement for you. So a lot of people run because as lawyers, it's good at advertisement. I said, I don't need advertisement. And she looked at me like, he said, what she means is her sister and her have been in Ebony, People magazine, all kind of newspapers. They've been in so much stuff. He said, people know who they are. He said, so they're not doing it for this. I said, I'm doing it to win. Mm-hmm. I'm not doing it for advertisement. Mm-hmm. And she just looked at me. Now, I hadn't won her over, but she supported me. Yeah. But when I had a case come up in front of me, and we won, and when I had a case come up in front of me, and they wanted to put all these people out of this public housing building. Mm. And it was 2 days before Christmas. Mm. Wasn't even supposed to be my case. You know what they said? Oh, well, Judge Lloyd ran up against the judges, so let her do this case. Mm-hmm. My clerk called me. She said, hurry up and get here. Get here a little earlier than you normally get here because they just pulled something here. They gave you this case that wasn't your case. And you got a packed courtroom in there. I said, what kind of case is that? And so they said, it's where they're kicking out all these people out of public housing. Mm. I said, before Christmas? And so they said, I said, I'll see about that. So I go in and I see all these people. It ain't no seats. And then they got the lady that draws your pictures, and all this. And I said, I'm going to have a meeting with the lawyers in the back. And then I had them come back there and I said, you filed a motion. I said, did you answer the motion? And they said, no. I said, well, I'm looking at this, and he filed it in the requisite amount of time. You owed him an answer.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I think that if we can adjourn this and give me time to give him an answer, I think we can settle this case, Judge, and nobody has to move. I said, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like that because I don't want nobody moving at Christmas either. I
Yeah.
said, because legally you got to answer this complaint.
Mm-hmm.
I'll set it for a date for me to hear the motion.
Mm-hmm.
By then, you should have your answer. They said, fine. I said, I'm looking at something like 2 months. They said, good for us. I said, good. I got out there, and when I said, hey, the bottom line is that you filed your motion. You're going to answer the motion. You didn't bring your answer today. I'm going to look. My availability on my docket is in two months. Okay, that will be February such and such when you come back. Make sure I have the answer 20 days before that. And then they said, thank you, Honor. Cheers went out in the courtroom. The next morning, my buddy, he calling me. He said, girl, you in the paper. I said, I'm in the paper for what? I ain't do nothing. And he said, I got a call. He said, from Liz. She said, I'm glad I supported her. I picked the right judge.
Yes.
She said,
Amen.
the right person to sit on that bench and make the decisions. Because I had compassion, but I knew the law. I knew the law, and I knew how to use it. I knew how to use it for drug courts. I knew how to use it before drug courts, how to be creative with sentencing. Why can't a person come in there and they can own up to what it is they did, but at the same token, I can give you a sentence where you're not paying $600-700 for this ticket. I said, if you go back and get that GED. Now,
All right now.
I said, and what I'm doing is saying you're doing something that's really going to help you.
Yeah.
You help you. You also make yourself a better citizen here in the city of Detroit, state of Michigan. You become a better person for your family.
Yeah.
And you don't have to pay that $700.
Yeah.
I said, but you got to bring me proof. I got to see how many times you took that test. I got to see. I said, you can't play with me. I said, I ain't one of those. You can't play with me. And so, I mean, I used to sing on the bench. I used to do a whole lot of stuff. If you did something wrong in drug court, and you had to sit in that box, everybody knew you did something wrong. She put you in that box over there because she going to save you to the end. And I said, to the left, everything you own in a box to the left. They said, that's Beyonce. And so I did, Nelly, it's getting hot in here. I see you sweating. I said, and they said, I always said, I'm going to have a little bit of lightness in the court.
Yeah. Yeah.
I said, I come in, I say, good morning. Because I wanted people to not be so scared of me.
Right.
They did not know me. And I would see people, before I did drug court, they would shake sometimes. One lady was shaking so hard. I said, honey, what's wrong? I ain't even said nothing yet. She said, I'm just scared. I said, I'm going to have you sit at that table, sit right there. Give her some water. I said, sip your water. Just watch me.
Yeah. And
then when you feel comfortable, just raise your hand like that, and I'll know to call your case next. I said,
all right. Huh?
So she said, and so she sat down. She watched me talk to people.
Yeah.
And then after she got to the point, she said, she put her hand up, and I said, you okay? She said, mm-hmm. She was ready to get up there. Again, I knew how to talk to people.
Yeah. And so with all of these stories and experiences, you took these and you were able to put them in a book, in your memoirs. Now, the part that I did not say, because we are talking about your sister and a lot of your experiences. Your sister is no longer with us today. Right. God rest her soul. And you also put that in your memoir as well, correct?
Correct.
And so let's share with everybody about the memoir that you wrote, and so that they can reach out and get a copy, because I want to get a copy, because I want to read more, because like the podcast is only an hour. We have to have you come back for part 2. Okay. And so, tell everybody a little bit about your book.
The book is meant to light a fire under my reader. Um, like I said before, I wanted people to discover the greatness they had in them. That's my purpose in life. Okay, the things that I do, how I interact with people when I see that I need to help. It doesn't have to necessarily be somebody like in drug court that tried to kill themselves. Yes, I was there for them and I wanted them to see the greatness. And then after about 9 months, they couldn't even fathom that they had done that because life had changed for them. I had put them with people, positive stuff, etc. Well, the book, it takes you down a lane of Leona and I first. Okay. You have to kind of know. And I did it this way because when Leona and I would go places, people had a preconceived notion of who we were or what we were about. And they said, oh, they probably grew up with silver spoons in their mouth. That's the furthest thing from the truth. Furthest thing from the truth, right? But that's what they perceived. Okay, that's what they perceived. And when you read the book, you see that that's not the way it was. And like we've never had problems. Everything seems to go right for them. And everything, no. We had tons of problems. Every time we looked, when you're going down a path of success, you're going to have potholes. You're going to have obstructions. You're going to have all kind of things go wrong. Yeah. The question is, what do? Do you keep going? Leona and I had, from the time my mother had that subarachnoid hemorrhage, and then we had great 10 years with her, and then she had 2 nervous breakdowns. And we then said, we've got to move out of the house because my mother said, there's too many women in this house. Well, it wasn't but 3. The 3 had been there. And she wasn't the same person. She eventually came back to herself, but it took years and years and years. And when we moved out, my father cried because he didn't want us to go. But he understood because he was in the middle. He couldn't, if he sided with us, she would go off on him. And we didn't want her going off on him. Right. But when you're sitting there reading your books, because your mother has drilled in your head, you gotta study. If you don't go to school, then you're gonna do manual work. And she drilled that in our head. We must have been about 10. We walked all the way to River Rouge with her, sat up at SS Kresge at the time, and ordered ice cream. So the lady was getting us ice cream, but the black lady was scrubbing the floor. Mm-hmm. The white woman was serving us the ice cream. Mm-hmm. And my mother said, see that lady over there? And we looked at her, we said, yes. And she said, if you don't go on in school after you graduate from high school, now mind you, we ain't even in high school yet. She's already putting this in our head. She said, then you're going to be doing that type of work. I said, no, we do that now. Every summer, you have us doing manual work from the first day we are out of school. You have us washing windows. I talk about that in there. Mm-hmm. She had us, we were like little slaves, right? And I said, we already know how to do that. And so she said, well, either you go to college or get ready to do that, but you're not going to sit up in this house and not do nothing. That you won't do. Yeah. So I said, well, we're going to go to school. She said, either you go to school or take a good look at her because you don't have any education to do nothing else. Wow. You have no skill. So who's going to hire you to do anything but what she's doing? Yeah. And we looked at her. I said, I'm not going to be doing the floors. I don't want to do that. I said, I'm looking a little girl. I don't want to do that, right? You got us doing the floors already. So I was never afraid of hard work, but now you're trying to put me there for the rest of my life, and I'm not going to do that. You're a registered nurse. You're not doing floors. Why are we going to be doing floors? Right. You went and got trained. My mother that's the way she's making her point. And she had drilled it in our head. So when she had the nervous breakdown, and by the way, I don't have any problem with anybody doing manual work. If that's what you want to do, then do that. Okay. Be like Martin Luther King said, be the best sweeper of the streets. Be the best if you're going to do it. So, but that's just not what's I wanted more choice. And when I became a judge, I said, I gave choices to defendants because I wanted them to have choices in life. You don't have to go to college, but you can go to trade schools. You can go to all these other various things so you can make an excellent living. I want to put you in this program. You'll start out making $35 an hour. Since you don't want to go to college, that's cool.
Yeah.
But you got to do something with your life that is going to be meaningful. And I don't want you working 2 jobs when you can work 1 and enjoy your life. Okay, Judge, I get in that program. Okay.
So that's amazing. So now, I want everybody, because we're running out of time, to know the name of the book and where they can get a copy of your book.
Okay. The name of it is Your Honor, Your Honor. Okay. Yep. And you can get it from Amazon.com. I told Erica I just recently got my 5th award on this book. It is meant to move you. It is meant to make you not be complacent. And I have gotten feedback. I used to be a mentor. My mentee did exceptionally well through school. She didn't quit. She kept going. I was very proud of her. But she said, after reading your book, Judge Lloyd, there were things that I got married, had kids, and things that I wanted to do. She said, I didn't do. But now I'm going back to my dreams and she's doing them now. She's doing them.
That's
and one
amazing.
girl, she said, one girl said, it's going to make you understand of the things that you thought you couldn't do that you can do. She said, this book is amazing. And she changed and got a better job than the one she had for 20 some years.
Amen.
Okay.
So now
to shake you up and
right.
make you have to do something.
So the book is called Your Honor, Your Honor, and
Right.
you guys can get the book on Amazon. Your Honor, Your Honor. And Judge Lloyd, tell everybody where they can reach you, where they can follow you.
Okay, at my website, and it's www.judgeleonia, Leonia, that's on the screen.com. On there, you can read, there's a lot of stuff on there, but you can see the trailer to my book. If you go on my YouTube channel, I think I've got 3 trailers for the book on there, because one came from one of the award companies. They did a trailer on my book. So you're able to see, before you even read the book, what it's really about. Mm-hmm. And exactly where and how lost I was. As strong as you hear me talking, you got to understand that when I lost my partner, Leona was like my partner. There were signs up everywhere. We had nicknames from the time we were in high school as lawyers. Lloyd and Lloyd, that's what we were known as. And then we got judged. We were twins for justice. We walk in the church and the minister say, there go my twins for justice. Now, my question was, what was I now?
Right.
What am I now? So, and I answered that question. I answered that question, but I was lost. And I got a counselor. And she was my marriage counselor before. She saw my sister's picture on TV. We had just talked to high school students, and I was at her house. She had just walked 5 miles. I didn't know she had a heart problem. I did not know she had arteriosclerosis. Neither did she. She never hardly went to the doctor. Me, I got everything wrong with me. So I was always going. Okay, one twin goes all the time, and the other twin, you take her pressure great. Mine high. So, but that's my sites. And you'll see a lot of things on the site. And you can go to my YouTube channel and go watch some of the interviews and things that I've done and some other stuff that's on there about me.
Okay. And you guys can catch Judge Lloyd on Instagram, Judge Leonia Lloyd. And she's on LinkedIn. You just Google her, and she's on Facebook. She pops up everywhere. And so, Judge Lloyd, we have to get out of here. And I just want you to leave a quick takeaway, because we ran over time, and I know people have stuff that they have to do. But just leave a quick takeaway for the viewers so that they can walk away with a powerful message from you.
Okay. I'm going to read you a poem, and I want you to apply this to your life. It's called Don't Quit. It comes out of my book. When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high and you want to smile, but you got to sigh, When you are pressing, it's pressing you down, and you rest if you must, but don't you quit. Life is strange with its twists and turns, as every one of us sometimes learns. And many a failure comes about when he might have won had he stuck it out. Don't give up, though. The pace seems slow. You may succeed with another blow. Success is failure turned inside out, the silver tint of clouds of doubt. And you never can tell just how close you are. It may seem near when it seems so far. So stick to the fight when you are hardest hit. It's when things seem worse that you must not quit.
All right now. Amen. Well, thank you, Judge Lloyd, so much for coming on our podcast. And we have to have you back on the podcast because we want to hear some more of your memoirs. And so you guys heard it here. Go to Amazon and get your copy of the book, Your Honor, Your Honor. And you get to hear more of the resilience, the perseverance, the overcoming. I mean, not even accepting the word no, okay? Because you guys are exemplary of not accepting the word no, and you totally inspired me today. You have no idea how much you have just in this interview pushed me forward and continue to helping me grow in my purpose. And my nail tech, he commented that you helped him open his first business on 12th Street Church, Patrick, my nail tech. And so he said, hey to you. So thank you.
I want to tell you that I've got another story coming out, and I'm co-authoring. I'm going to be a co-author with Kim Coles, who, she was on the Living Single and all that stuff, but she's wrote award-winning books. She's wrote bestsellers. But in there, I tell my story about what's in my DNA. Okay. And I was programmed before I was born to give back to people and to give back in this way.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That's out there. Not say nothing else. That's it.
Okay, that's fantastic. And perhaps when you come back, maybe you and Kim can come together, get that together. And you always have a home here on Erica Lynn Speaks podcast. I thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. And thank you for sharing your stories today.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
God bless you. Okay. Well, you guys, it's been a wonderful interview with Judge Lloyd, and she totally changed my life tonight. I am ready to continue to not accept no and walking in my purpose. Like, I've laid the foundation, I set the steps, but she showed me that I can't accept no, can't accept limitations or people telling me I can't do something when I know that I can. So I'm putting all efforts forward and walking into my purpose, and so should you. You should not allow anyone to dictate to you who or what you should be. So keep moving forward, keep walking in your purpose, keep living in your purpose, keep breathing in your purpose, and keep discovering who God called you to be. That's my time. I'm Erica Lynn Speaks. I'll see you guys next Wednesday at 7 p.m. on Erica Lynn Speaks podcast. And always remember to take one step beyond you. God bless you. This podcast was brought to you by EricaLynnSpeaks.com. Sign up for your free consultation today at EricaLynnSpeaks.com/work with me. And just remember, it only takes just one step beyond
you. I say Erica Lynn Speaks.